My parents gave my sister every cent of our family's inheritance. They thought I'd vanish quietly, but what I did 7 years later made them regret ever knocking on my door. Subscribe so you don't miss what's next. 7 years ago, I sat in the corner of my parents' lawyer's office, watching signatures fly across papers like my life didn't exist. Dad didn't look at me once. Mom kept her eyes on my sister, Allison, smiling that soft, proud smile she'd perfected over decades. The entire estate, house, land, savings, stocks went to Allison. She's more responsible, Mom had said, voice sugar sweet but firm. The lawyer didn't even blink. I didn't get a penny, not even the old record player Grandpa left me in his will. Allison wanted it, so it was hers. I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I signed my own release, walked out, and never went back. Silence was easier than begging for crumbs from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth feeding. I built a life without them. Small apartment, a husband who actually listened to me, 2 kids who got bedtime stories instead of guilt trips. My parents were ghosts to me until last month. They showed up on my porch like no time had passed. Allison stood behind them, holding a gift bag and wearing that perfect smile she used for Instagram. Dad started with, "We'd like to see the kids." My chest went cold. They hadn't met my children. They hadn't even sent a card when my first was born. But now suddenly, they wanted in? I didn't answer right away. I just stared at the little silver device in Dad's breast pocket, the same battered digital voice recorder he used to keep in the study. The one he thought I'd forgotten. I hadn't. I didn't invite them in. I leaned my shoulder against the doorframe and waited for them to squirm. Allison was the first to break the silence. "Natalie, come on. We haven't seen each other in years. Let's start over." For the kids' sake. Her tone was syrupy, but her eyes darted past me, scanning my living room like she was checking the value of my furniture. Daniel came up behind me, hand resting lightly on my back. "Everything okay?" His voice was calm, but I could feel the tension in his palm. "We were just leaving," I said, not taking my eyes off my parents. Dad chuckled like I'd made a joke. "You're still as dramatic as ever. We're family. We have a right to know our grandchildren." That word right made my stomach tighten. They'd forfeited every right the day they cut me out of my own bloodline's legacy. And now, after 7 years of silence, they thought they could walk in and claim the next generation? I was about to close the door when I saw it again, the small scratch silver voice recorder peeking from Dad's pocket. He'd always used it to record important meetings. Just in case. Back when I still lived at home, I'd once overheard him playing back a conversation to prove a neighbor wrong. It hit me then, why bring it here today? Was he already collecting evidence in case this turned into some kind of fight? Something in me whispered, "Pay attention." That was the first flicker of suspicion I'd felt in years, the kind that told me there was more going on than an awkward family reunion. I closed the door without another word. My kids were safe upstairs, but my mind was already spinning. If they were recording me, maybe I needed to start recording them. Too, that night, I couldn't sleep. Daniel was out cold beside me, but my brain kept replaying every detail. Dad's recorder, Allison's restless eyes, Mom's fake warm smile. Why now? Why suddenly want to know my kids after ignoring them for 7 years? At 2 a.m., I slipped out of bed, headed to the kitchen, and made tea. I didn't even drink. I just stood there, staring at the steam until I remembered something. A week earlier, I'd gotten a letter from the county clerk's office addressed to occupant. I'd tossed it on the counter without opening it. Figuring it was junk, I dug through the recycling bin until I found it. Inside was a public notice about a land use hearing regarding my neighborhood, specifically, the greenbelt behind my property, the one with the walking trail my kids loved. A developer had filed a proposal to buy it. The name on the application, Foster Realty, LX Foster, my maiden name. I felt a cold wave wash over me. Dad had run a small property company for years, but I thought he'd retired after giving everything to Allison. What if this family visit wasn't about the kids at all? What if it was about getting me to agree to something? Daniel found me at the counter, letter in hand. "Nat, it's 3 a.m. I slid the notice toward him. "Look at the applicant's name," he frowned, then met my eyes. "So they want to build here, or they want my consent to build here?" I said, "Which means they want something from me." The knot in my gut tightened. My parents only ever valued me when I had something they needed, and now apparently, I did. The next morning, I started digging. First stop, the county's public records portal. It was clunky and slow, but it let anyone look up planning applications. I typed in Foster Realty. There it was, proposal filed 2 weeks ago. I clicked the def. It wasn't just the greenbelt they wanted. The map in the application showed a strip of my property. Right along the back fence, marked in red. Dad had written in the justification box, "Owner is a family member, and will consent to the adjustment." I stared at that sentence until my vision blurred. He's filed paperwork assuming I'd say yes without even asking me. Scrolling further, I spotted the supporting documents section. One of them was an audio file link. Curious, I clicked it. It was Dad's voice, calm and confident, telling some planning officer, "She's on board, of course. She's family." My jaw tightened. I hadn't agreed to a damn thing. This wasn't a casual lie, it was a legal one. I saved the def and the audio file to my laptop, heart pounding. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the mouse. Daniel leaned over my shoulder. "This is fraud, Nat. If they're misrepresenting your consent, I cut him off. They've done it before, just not with paperwork I could prove. The image of Dad's recorder flashed in my head again. If he'd been recording me at the door yesterday, maybe he wanted to catch me confirming something, so he could use it against me later. It was like stepping onto a chessboard where they'd been playing for months, and I was just now realizing I was a piece. And I had no intention of staying one. I called them the next day. No warning, no small talk. Dad, I saw the development proposal, the one with my property in red. A pause, then his voice slid into that patronizing calm he used when I was a kid. Natalie, you're misunderstanding. That's just a preliminary draft. You told the county I'd already agreed. My voice was flat. Another pause. Well, of course you will. It's a family project. Benefits everyone. I gripped the phone tighter. It benefits you and Allison. My kids lose their backyard trail. He chuckled. Don't be dramatic. We'll build a playground. Maybe name it after you. That last line made my skin crawl. I'm not agreeing to anything, I said, and you need to remove my name from those documents. That's when Mom's voice chimed in on speaker. Natalie. Honey, this is why we didn't involve you sooner. You get so defensive. We're trying to give Allison a real shot at managing the company. This isn't about a company. It's about lying to the county. I snapped. Mom sighed. All Fox patience. You always see betrayal where there's none. This is just business, then keep me out of it. There was a beat of silence before Dad's tone hardened. Think about this carefully. You don't want to make things complicated. The line went dead. I sat there staring at my phone, pulse hammering. They hadn't denied it. They'd just reframed it as my overreaction, like they always did, and that little recorder in his pocket, I had a feeling it was still rolling, catching every word to twist later. I needed proof, real proof, before they tried to bury me in their version of the story. 2 nights later, I made my move. Daniel wasn't thrilled about it. This could blow up if they catch you. They're already building a case, I said, sipping my hootie. I'm just leveling the field. I knew their house well enough to navigate in the dark. The back gate still had the loose latch, the kitchen window still had that faulty lock Dad never fixed. Inside, everything smelled the same. Mom's vanilla candles, Dad's aftershave. My pulse thudded in my ears as I crept down the hall to his study. The recorder sat on his desk, charging. I slipped it into my pocket, then glanced at his computer. The monitor was dark, but the tower hummed quietly. I slid into his chair and wiggled the mouse. Password prompt. I tried the usual suspects: Mom's birthday, Allison's name, their wedding date. No luck. A floorboard creaked upstairs. I froze, voices muffled, then clearer. Mom's laugh. They were home, Pearly. I yanked the recorder's USB cable free, stuffed it into my hoodie, and darted for the kitchen. My foot caught on the corner of the rug. The chair I brushed against toppled with a crash. Natalie. Dad's voice boomed from the stairs. I bolted out the back, my breath clouding in the cold night air. I didn't stop running until I was 2 streets over, crouched behind a neighbor's hedge, heart punching my ribs. Only then did I pull out the recorder. The playback screen showed multiple files, recent ones. One was dated the day they came to my door. If that file held what I thought it did, it could be my first real weapon. But first, I had to figure out how to get the audio without alerting them I had it. The next morning, I called the one person I thought could help without running to my parents, Leah, an old coworker who now freelanced as an audio tech. She'd once cleaned up a garbled voicemail for me when I was contesting a landlord dispute. When I told her I had a recorder with potentially incriminating audio, she didn't even hesitate. Bring it by. I'll make a clean copy and send you the file tonight. I drove across town with the recorder in my tote bag, gripping the handle so tight my fingers ached. At her apartment, Leah plugged it into her laptop, brows furrowed in concentration. These are WAV files, she murmured. A big ones could be good quality. She clicked one. My father's voice filled the room. She'll agree. She's family. We can get her on tape confirming it. My stomach clenched. That was it, proof he was setting me up. Leah stopped the playback. Yeah, Nat, this is a loud knock rattled her door. She glanced at me, confused. Were you expecting anyone? I shook my head. When she opened it, 2 men in suits stood there. One flashed a badge. Private security, not cops. We're here for a device that belongs to Mr. Richard Foster. Leah's eyes darted to me. I don't. The taller one cut her off. We know it's here. You can hand it over voluntarily, or we'll get a court order. They didn't wait for an answer. They stepped inside, moving with that cold confidence of people who never hear no. I slipped the recorder behind my back, but one of them reached out. Palm up, Natalie, the tall one said evenly. Let's not make this messy. I handed it over. I had no backup, no copy, just empty hands and a hollow pit in my chest. I drove home in a daze. The tote bag on the passenger seat felt heavier without the recorder inside, like its absence had physical weight. Daniel met me at the door. So, did she get the file? I shook my head. My voice came out flat. They took it, hired security, said it was property of Richard Foster. His jaw tightened. Did you at least listen to not all of it? And now it's gone. I dropped onto the couch, staring at the floor. My hands still tingled from the moment I'd let it go. It wasn't just losing the audio, it was knowing Dad had anticipated my every move. He'd probably already wiped the file, maybe even had a replacement recording ready, one that made me look like I'd agreed to everything. By late afternoon, The first sign of that hit me. My inbox pinged with an email from the county planning office. Thank you for your verbal confirmation on the Foster Realty proposal during yesterday's meeting. I hadn't spoken to anyone there. Attached was an audio clip, my voice calm, agreeable, saying, "Yes, I'm fine with the adjustment. It's all for the family after all." It was a deepfake. It had to be, but to an official who didn't know me, it sounded real. I forwarded it to Daniel with shaky hands. They were replacing my words. He rubbed his temples. "Nat, if they're already filing this, it could be on record before we even challenge it." The hollowness in my chest hardened into something sharper. They'd taken my proof, replaced it with a lie, and now they had the paperwork to match. I had nothing. And that's when I realized they were counting on that, counting on me to give up. I spent the night pacing our kitchen, running my hands over the cool countertop until they went numb. The only thing louder than the thoughts in my head was the silence, thick, heavy, almost taunting. Dad had erased my voice from the truth and replaced it with his version. That silence felt like defeat. And then, somewhere between 2 and 3 a.m., I remembered something. The county call center years ago when I worked in customer service. I'd learned that some public offices record all inbound calls for quality assurance. If Dad's conversation with the planning office was routed through their main line, it would have been recorded on their system, not his. That meant it would have his real voice and the real words. I grabbed my laptop, heart thudding. The county site had a public records request form. I typed in every detail I knew: date, time, department, even the staffer's name, from the application notes. I didn't mention Dad's name in the reason box, just wrote request for quality assurance review of call. When I hit submit, a confirmation number popped up. No instant download, no magic fix, just a promise they'd process it within 5 business days. Daniel shuffled in, rubbing his eyes. "You're still up?" "I think I found a way to get it back," I said. He didn't ask for details. Just poured himself coffee and nodded. "Then we wait, but not be ready for them to try something else in the meantime." I was ready, or at least I thought I was, because the next morning, there was a knock at the door, and this time it wasn't my parents through the peephole. I saw a man in a county-issued windbreaker holding a clipboard. Neutral expression, the kind you learn to distrust when you've been in my family. I cracked the door. "Can I help you?" "Natalie Foster," he asked. "I'm here about your records request." My pulse kicked up. "That was fast." He gave a small shrug. "We try to be responsive. I just need you to sign this form to authorize release of the call recording." I scanned the paper. Everything looked normal, until I noticed the signature line already had a faint impression, like someone had pressed down hard with a pen before. My gut tightened. "Weiss, this page dented." He smiled politely. "Oh, must be from the printer feed. I didn't buy it. I'll sign it after I make a copy." His smile slipped just a little. "I'm afraid the original needs to be returned to the office. No copies." I stepped back, keeping the door half closed. "Then I'll come down to the office in person." That's when his tone changed, lower, firmer. "It'd be easier for everyone if you just sign now." Behind me, Daniel appeared. "Problem?" The man glanced at him, then back at me. "No problem." He slid the paper back into his clipboard and walked down the path to a silver SUV. I watched until it turned the corner, my heart hammering. That wasn't a county employee. That was someone trying to intercept my request before it reached the real office. I grabbed my phone, called the county's main line, and confirmed what I already suspected. No one had been sent to my house. My request was still pending in their system, which meant my parents knew exactly what I was trying to do. 3 days later, the email landed in my inbox. Subject: Public Records Request 4827 audio file fulfillment. My hands shook as I clicked the download link. It was a WAV file, a little over 6 minutes long. I plugged in my headphones, held my breath, and hit play. "County Planning, this is Melissa." A woman's voice said, "Hello, this is Richard Foster." Dad's voice followed, crisp and self-assured. "I need to update the file for the Greenbelt project. My daughter, Natalie Foster, is in agreement with the property adjustment. I have her on board." Verbally confirmed. Melissa hesitated. "We'll need her written consent for the record." "She'll sign," he said smoothly. "It's all family." There was nothing from me, no yes, no agreement, just him claiming I'd said it. And because this was recorded on their system, it was time-stamped, verified, and entirely outside his control. I copied the file to 3 different cloud accounts, a thumb drive, and even Daniel's work email. Then I sent it to the county's legal department with a short note. "This is a false statement submitted in an active application. I do not consent to the project." Daniel leaned over my shoulder. "Nat, this is your level 2? The one they can't touch." I nodded. "It's not just my word anymore. It's his voice, his lie." For the first time in weeks, my chest loosened. I still had to survive whatever came next. But I finally had something solid, something they couldn't erase. I didn't send the recording to my parents. I sent it to the county board, the planning commission, and every local reporter whose email I could find. By the next morning, my inbox was a storm: confirmation receipts, follow-up questions, and one polite but pointed inquiry from the county attorney. They wanted me to attend the next commission meeting to clarify the scope of misrepresentation. The night before the meeting, I dug out an old cardboard box from the back of my closet. Inside was my own dusty digital recorder, the one I'd used in college to practice presentations. I'd kept it all these years without thinking why. Daniel watched me swap in fresh batteries, making sure they can't twist your words again. Exactly, they said. My voice. My terms set the meeting. Dad was already there with Allison and Mom, all in their practiced community leader smiles. The room smelled faintly of coffee and tension. When my name was called, I walked to the podium, placed my recorder on it, and pressed record slowly. Deliberately, so everyone saw, I played the county's own call log over the microphone. Dad's voice filled the chamber, making that confident false claim about my consent. Gasps rippled through the rows. When it ended, I looked straight at the commissioners. That's my father. That's not my consent. This is fraud, and it's not the first time he's used his voice to silence mine. Dad's smile finally cracked. The commission voted to halt the proposal and referred the matter to the district attorney for review. A reporter cornered me afterward, mic in hand, asking if I had any comment. I glanced at Dad across the room, then back to her. Just this, when someone tries to steal your voice, make sure the whole world hears it. And this time I walked out with the recorder still in my hand. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe to check out more stories on my channel.